Okay, Jesus Christ. I've been waiting to do a video until all of this stuff kind of came out, and with the arrival of Jason Schreier's article, we've hopefully probably reached an end of all the stuff being reported about Bungie behind the scenes during and after this layoff, namely what is going on with Destiny itself from here, in addition to some details about the layoff itself. I wrote an article kind of going through everything that I've been keeping updated as a running tally because we keep learning new things. Now with Jason's stuff, we can kind of go through it all, and some version of all of this seems true. And the three main sources that I'm citing here are Jeff Grubb, who's a reliable insider and journalist who's really good with Sony info, Steven Totillo, who used to run Kotaku, and he's got his own newsletter right now. Really trust him. And then Jason, who has obviously been proven to be very trustworthy. Some things I know directly, not as much as these guys in this case, but I've heard some of this stuff myself too. A lot of angry people at Bungie willing to talk right now, as you might imagine. Okay, so the official stuff from Bungie that we know, based on what happened before, they laid off 220 people, which joins 100 people from last time. 155 people are moving to Sony in various roles. A new studio is going up under Sony for a game we don't know about, with 40 people or so. That's what Jason says. 850 people are working on Destiny and Marathon. We don't know the split of that, but regardless, it is far fewer people that have been working on Destiny before. The main headline takeaway here is way less Destiny. There's going to be a lot less Destiny content going forward compared to what we are used to. I won't go through an exact order here because some of these things kind of overlap. One of the big headlines is this thing called Payback. And this is a spin-off game that was reportedly being led by Mark Noseworthy and Luke Smith, who are, got promoted into, we don't really know where they went. Apparently they were doing this. They were like the creative directors of whatever, the Destiny universe. This is what they were doing. It was the spin-off game called Payback. It was canceled a while ago. It wasn't like just canceled now. But Mark and Luke have now left, during this time period here because it seemed like they just sort of ran out of road here. And there's been some debate about, were they fired? Did they resign? And like what I've learned from talking to people is like, it's sort of just semantics. It's not like someone walked into Luke and Mark's office and was just like, hey guys, need to go to HR. Like, we got something to talk about. Like, this was something like they knew and like was organized, and like it wasn't like everyone else getting fired. It was, them departing, shall we say, in a way that's a little different. And just keep in mind, all I'm going to say about this is when we talk about leadership at Bungie and we're all pointing at Pete Parsons and we think leadership didn't make the right decisions, there's more leaders than just Pete Parsons. And now the details about Payback are coming out, I think a lot of the Destiny community are saying, why were they making that? This is what just came out with Jason, was that Payback was a third-person shooter that was sort of like I think it was open world adventure game where you were fighting monsters cooperatively, solving puzzles. Apparently it used like characters from the Destiny universe and was inspired by games like Warframe and Genshin Impact. That speaks to me as something that's probably like a class-based game. So maybe you were playing as like Zavala and, Eris and whatever. And like, it wasn't maybe a Overwatch cooperative shooter or whatever, but that would have been a dramatic departure from Destiny, obviously, and is not Destiny 3. I don't think anyone from Destiny would be super excited about a third-person shooter. That sounds to me like a decision to sell a lot of skins. I swear to God, that's why most people make third-person shooters, is to sell skins, aka the First Descendant and its recent bikini releases. And God forbid it would have been a gacha game like Genshin Impact. I can't imagine they would have done that, but still. And the point is that they were developing that game. And the other bit of news is like Destiny 3 has never been in development. Like apparently just never. So the decision to focus on a third-person spin-off Destiny game with a significant amount of resources and not develop a Destiny 3, that's a bad thing. That's a bad decision. So yeah, I don't think that whole thing is great. And the more info comes out about this, the more certain things are sort of coming together. So that was canceled a while ago, thankfully, and people were moved to Marathon. Then it's in terms of kind of what is happening with Destiny going forward, and all the reporting sort of says the same thing about a large scale scaling back of Destiny. The long and short of it is that Jason's like Steven Totilo said originally, like the final shape sold less than Lightfall, but then he wanted to clarify that was just launch sales. Like, I don't know, long term. Jason just says it. He's like, every expansion has sold less than the previous expansion. I'm sure that has a start date. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it started a Witch Queen or something, or Beyond Light. I don't imagine it's every single one. Maybe, like, since Forsaken, I kind of would doubt it, but maybe. I don't know. And so they are just not doing that anymore. They can't just keep pouring these massive amount of resources, now with way less people, into very expensive expansions that are making increasingly less money over time. So they are moving to some sort of content pack thing, and it's all very nebulous. So what Bungie has said outright is that they are not changing short-term and long-term plans they've announced. All they've announced are 2 more Echoes, which we know about. They sold a dungeon key, so there's 2 dungeons, and then Destiny Frontiers. What the reporting says is that they're going to be developing things like Into the Light. Everybody really liked Into the Light. It had cool guns, cool activities. It was free. So they're going to do more stuff like that. They think it'll help retain and onboard players, but they are not going to be doing larger expansions anymore. And I think Jason said in a tweet or something like, they're going to make money from dungeon keys and season passes and microtransactions and, like, you know, the other stuff that's not expansions, I guess. So, you know, the obvious question here is, okay, great, expansions are expensive and whatever, but if you're making way less content, you're going to get even more severe of a player drop off, and you're going to make even less money. And like, how is this not a spiral? Like, why are you doing anything at this point, unless, you know, you're going to have to make your production costs so dirt cheap that the players that remain are going to make it actually profitable. And, like, maybe you'll end up losing less money overall, but, like, again, none of the planning here makes sense. And this all falls on leadership, that, like, they had no real direction for this. And again, like, I don't know why you wouldn't. Maybe you can scale down, and then with the ultimate plan being, okay, well, then we're going to do a big Destiny 3 relaunch. It's going to, you know, be a fresh start for the game. And, like, that's not coming. They're just shrinking the game into almost non-existence, I guess we'll see. And then they had this idea of some crazy spin-off game that does not sound like it makes any sense whatsoever. If, like, Destiny was super healthy and super robust and, like, all of this stuff, like, sure, maybe experiment with some spin-off games, but, like, it sounds like they were sinking a lot of resources into that, using, you know, what at least were formerly, like, the main guys running Destiny when things were doing pretty well. Crazy decisions there. Jason does say that there's, like, nebulous plans about, you know, stuff for the main game, about, like, exploring worlds players haven't been to. This lines up with this idea of what we've had with Destiny Frontiers, that we'll be leaving the solar system and traveling to new worlds and stuff. But, like, none of this all really makes sense together. Like, there's nothing being said about, like, specifically another year of just Echoes, and, like, how are you adding new planets? Because that's usually what you do in an expansion. So, like, are you adding a new planet that's just like a patrol space with some missions, as opposed to, like, a big one? Like, there's even if we know all this stuff, there's still a ton of questions, and, like, none of this seems good, obviously. And, you know, now they have half the people working on Destiny that they ever had, and everyone is massively dispirited because of this. There is also Sony stuff. Jason didn't really touch on the Sony of all this, where the story appears to be that Sony is kind of slowly absorbing Bungie. I mean, they took 200 people just now, and Grubb was reporting, he said it originally, Herman Hulst now runs Bungie, and then he sort of walked that back to, like, he's taking over Bungie slowly, and, like, this is the first step. And you know, that's what it seems like. And if all higher level leadership is essentially leaving, like, someone's got to be there to do something, and clearly Pete Parsons is getting the job done. Everyone I've talked to, all of these people internally, these reporters, no one really seems to understand why Pete Parsons is there, other than he's trying to stick around to get, you know, his stuff vested and get the money. I think whatever, you can only be fired for cause or something. I think Luke and Mark would be walking away, like not having their stuff vested in this instance. So that would not be great for them. It does seem likely that, Bungie will get more and more absorbed into Sony. It is very clear there is a colossal amount of pressure on Marathon, way too much pressure. I've said this before, but like expecting a brand new multiplayer game in 2024 to be some sort of insane breakout success that you need it to be a stable home company, like that's nuts. Shouldn't rely on that. Like it is terrible foresight to imagine that even a talented studio, even a good game, has the ability to break out like that just because of the market itself. And I did a whole thing about this yesterday with Concord and stuff, but like that all stands. And they're still shooting for 2025, which 2025 is in 4.5 months or whatever, 5 months. So we need to start hearing more about that. But it's all bad news, essentially. Like, it would be one thing if like the Final Shape tanked and it was like the end of an era and, the game shut off and like, okay, we'll see Destiny again someday. Like they're going to regroup. They're going to do Destiny 3 and, spark some life back into things and it's like, it feels like the worst possible scenario is happening where like Bungie's just getting hacked down and losing a lot of good people, very few bad people. And the end result is just an anemic form of the game when people are like already, drifting away in large numbers. I said before that like this is the largest percentage drop off of players we've ever seen from the game, from the Final Shape to now. And like, what do you think is going to happen when, even this big, like, are the echoes even going to get smaller? Like, this is not going to reverse course. And now there's not going to be large scale expansions that like cause these spikes. Like nothing is going to cause those spikes anymore. There's not going to be spikes. There's going to be a line going down. I don't know how many times you can say this comes back to leadership, but like hindsight is 2020. The Final Shape could have probably sold 3 times as well as any other expansion. And all of this was probably still in motion already. Like there was no avoiding this. Destiny has been not making enough money to support both its content and like 4 other incubation projects, including a major shooter, including a canceled dumb idea of a spinoff to, sustain itself. And they squandered what is an all-time gaming franchise. Like the fact that they have executed this massive 10-year plan and created like such a huge loyal fan base to the game who were like devastated to see this happen is a huge achievement. And they're just throwing it away. And, as I've always said, I'll be there turn the lights go out, but it's like the lights are slowly dimming and it's getting harder and harder to see, and like I'm walking into walls and like it's exhausting. So that is sort of the grand total of where we are now. I'm not expecting to hear anything remotely useful from Bungie comms anytime soon. No offense to Bungie comms, they're not allowed to say things. We might see some more reporting on this. Maybe I'll hear some more things, but like none of it is good. It does feel like it's probably start time to talking about Marathon at the very least, if they're, pivoting to that. And sure, it would be nice to know, at least with all this reporting, like the cards are on the table now. So you should at least be like, okay, this is what Frontiers is. We're doing this free content drop. We're still doing echoes. Like we're something. Just stop letting it leak out through us reporters and start just talking about it. But right now, the focus is on freaking 350 people that are now gone from Bungie. So we as a community don't need to be demanding we're told anything right now. It's just, as a larger strategy for the company, if you want to retain people, you got to put some sort of coherent plan together to at least be honest about what's coming and to manage expectations. Okay, Jesus, really getting me animated here, but it's a crazy situation. Keep pushing back on my first Ascendant videos. Yeah, but this is a big deal. I'm still so devastated for all the people that got laid off at Bungie. And then like an hour ago, they shut down Game Informer and laid off everyone there. And that's like one of the magazines, essentially the magazine that got me into wanting to write and just video games in general. It's extremely sad. They fucking nuked their whole website. You can't even go to GameInformer.com now. It's a landing page. What the fucking hell is that? Okay. I gotta go. This is it's too much. Okay. We will see what else happens. It's the weekend now, so I'll no more videos, but I will see you guys Monday. Take care. Try and relax. Lord knows I need to. All right.